So this weekend just gone, I have figured out how to become truly limitless in every single area of your life and business. I'm going to share it with you right now in this video, and I promise you, you are not going to like it because it is seriously hard and it takes a lot of commitment. So as we dive into this video, which I'm kind of reluctant to go through actually, as we go through this, I think we first need to define what it is to be limited, right? Because if we were truly limitless, what it means is that we can essentially we can have any conversation with any person, we can do anything with no restrictions, we can be anyone with no restrictions. Basically, there's nowhere where we won't go in our lives. That's what it is to be limitless. There's nowhere we won't go, there's nothing we won't do, there's no conversations we can't have. We are completely and utterly without restriction, without limit, right? So if that's the case, and that's what it means to be limitless, well, the difference is when we are limited, it means that there are conversations that we can't have. It means that there are things that we believe that we can't do because of stories and things that have happened in our past, and it's those things which then define us and cause us to put a limit on a situation or put a limit on what we think we're capable of. And it's all to do with preserving the part of our self, our construct of self that we've built over our lives, which is like our personality, our beliefs, our fears, our everything we think we can and can't do. The limit is a part of what we are protecting within our construct of self when we can't do the thing we're saying we can't do because of the limit. So I'll give you an example because I know this is like quite conceptual. So let's say that we can't enter into a social situation because we're embarrassed of how we would look. We're going to look like an idiot in that situation. And the reason that we've determined that in the future we may look like an idiot is because in the past we've had experiences that tell us that in that situation we may look like an idiot. And because of those past experiences and that story, that creates a limit in our mind and in our self that defines what we can and can't do based on our past. And take the conversations thing. If there's things that we've done in our lives, there's things that we haven't taken responsibility for and haven't owned because there's conversations we can't have with certain people, or there's things that we can't put out there into the world because we're fearful of what might happen if we put that out there. That becomes a limit. And so the only way to become limitless is to remove those limits. And the only way to remove those limits is to go through them, right? Because as long as we don't go there to the source and own that fully, that limit will always exist as a fear. It is in some way defining us. So if there's a conversation that we can't have with someone, we can never be limitless as long as the idea of not having that conversation, as long as that still exists, that will always be the limit. The only way to break past that limit is to no longer be defined by not having that conversation with that person. And the only way to undefine that part of us is to have that conversation with that person, or own that thing that we did that we don't want to admit. Right? It's the only way to break past the limit of that thing existing. Because the second that we become completely transparent to the world, to others, and we just completely own it, the transparency of essentially going through the limit, right, means that the thing that was limiting us has now disappeared as a limit. And the only way it can disappear as a limit is if we go through the actual experience. We actually do what the limit is saying we can't do. There's no other way through it. And so the lesson here, and the reason that I don't want to have this conversation, is because to become truly limitless, what it means is that we have to confront every limit that we have in our lives. We have to have every conversation we don't want to have. We have to become completely transparent with essentially, what we've done. We've got to take responsibility for everything we've done. And the way to ask ourselves, there's a couple of like powerful questions here. One is moving forwards and one is kind of looking back. But the way to look at this is, say, if at any point you catch yourself running the dialogue of, I want to do X, but I can't because of Y. Well, the only way to get rid of Y is to go through Y, right? So, for example, if we're saying, I can't, speak in public. I can't talk in front of other people. Well, as long as the limit, which is I can't talk in front of people, as long as that exists, we can't talk in front of people. We're limited by not being able to talk in front of people. And that limit will define every action we take and every choice we make and every decision and so on and so forth, will be defined by avoiding situations where we would need to talk in front of people. And as long as the whole idea that I need to avoid situations where I might talk in front of people, as long as that exists, we will always be limited by it and it will define our future. And so the only way to be unlimited by it and to become limitless is to no longer be defined by not talking in front of people. And the only way to no longer be defined by not talking in front of people is to talk in front of people. So another example would be conversation. Let's say we've done something in our past, maybe we've lied to someone, maybe we've held on to a secret, maybe we've, like if say you cheated on someone, for example, if those things have happened in our past, there's conversations that we can't have. There's places that we can't go. There's, limits that we have because we're worried about the consequences. Consequences like, what will people think of us? All right? So what will people think of us is a limit. I have a fear of what people think of us. And the only way to let go of and move through the fear of what people think of us is to confront and go through the fear of what people think of us. We have to go through the limit of experiencing letting go of what people think of us, and the only way to do that is to surrender to what people think of us, to have that no longer be a limit. All right? So, in summary, the only way to get rid of all your limits is to first recognize what they are. And the way, as I say, the way to do that is to catch yourself when you say, I want to do X, but I can't because Y. Well, there's a limit, and that's what you need to go through. That's what you need to confront and face and surrender to and let go of. Because when we surrender to it, it's no longer a thing that matters to ourselves, and it no longer defines us. Right? It's part of the process of surrendering and letting go. That then means that is no longer a limit, and then we can express ourselves more fully, because that limit is no longer a limit. Hopefully this is making some sense. And then the second thing that I wanted to share with you was that if you're looking into your future and you no longer want to be creating limits in your life, the only way to not be limited is to be transparent with everything you've done, everything you've been, everything you've experienced, and etc., etc., etc. So ask yourself, if the world was watching me right now, would I do what I'm about to do? Because if you wouldn't do what you're about to do if the world was watching, but you're doing it now, that's creating a limit. It's creating a conversation that you can't have in your future. That conversation would be, I wouldn't want the world to see that I've done this, therefore my actions are now defined by keeping that secret, essentially, of the world not seeing that I've done this. That has created a limit in our lives. So if we want to stop creating limits in our lives, then we've got to ask ourselves, with every action we take, if the world was watching right now, would we do this? And if the answer is yes, I would do this, great. That's transparent, that's integral, that's fine, that's, you'd be totally willing to have that conversation or to have the world see that you've done that thing, and therefore that's not creating a limit. But if the answer to that question is no, well, we're actually creating a limit in our lives, because that's somewhere then that we wouldn't want to go in our future, and so our future will be defined by that limit that we've just created. And the thing is, as human beings, we do this again and again and again and again, and like, you know, I've got a lot of stuff to unwind from my past, of conversations to have and things to take responsibility for, and, you know, things to face that I haven't faced before, and fears to overcome, and, you know, essentially we've got to unwind all the limits that we've created by going through those limits if we want to become limitless. So hopefully this makes sense. It was a little bit of a tricky one to kind of try and tie down, because it is very conceptual. But yeah, the moral is we need to stop creating limits in our life by asking, if the world was watching right now, would I do what I'm about to do? If the answer is no, you're about to create a limit. So think about that. And if you want to become limitless and more powerful, the only way to do that is to break limits by going through the limits. And the reason that I and pretty much everyone else is, I think, not going to like this is because it's pretty much one of the hardest things we can ever do. Because to go through this process is to experience the every deepest fear that we have in our psyche that is essentially defining who we are as a person. It's our personality of self that we've created through our experience in our life, essentially through our limits. We're often defined by our limits. And so the process of no longer defining ourselves by these limits is essentially killing parts of our construct of self, right? It's removing these limitations, but these limitations are forming part of ourselves. So, you know, naturally there's a lot of internal resistance from our programming for going through this process. It takes a serious amount of courage to experience this kind of transformation. And yeah, I'm not looking forward to it, that's for sure. So hopefully that helps, right? One of two things may come of this conversation. Either number one, hopefully my intention is that there's more clarity around what it truly takes, and also the process to start to go through as a result of stripping away those limitations. Or number two, you may just decide that living an unlimited life is not for us because it sounds too bloody hard. And if that's the case, you know, we've got to own that. We've got to accept I'm not willing to live that kind of life. I'm not willing to achieve those kind of things. I'm not willing to go through the process of becoming capable of the things that I'm not capable of. But as part of that, we've got to stop pretending to ourselves that we are gonna do it if we're not willing to do what it takes to overcome those challenges. Right? We've got to take responsibility for the fact that we're not willing to do what it takes, if that's the case. So thank you for watching. If you've got something from this and it has been beneficial in some way, please hit like, and please comment below if you have a perspective to share. Are there areas of your life that you feel you're limited by that you've now got a bit of perspective around overcoming? Right? You've got some clarity of where to go from here. If you've got something, share it. A lot of people do read the comments and do get a lot out of them, so you're helping other people as well. And finally, if you have enjoyed this and you would like to watch more videos like this, then hit subscribe, which you'll see in the bottom corner right now, and you will get plenty more videos 3 times per week along these kind of lines. Also online business, because that's kind of what I started this journey doing. So thanks for watching, really appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of your day. I'll speak to you in another video. Bye for now.